today I'm going to talk to you about just basic care and cleaning and maintenance of the trumpet. It's maybe not the most fun thing to talk about, but it's definitely an important topic because we want to make sure that not only the valves, but the other slides and things like that, all the other parts of the instrument are working well so that they don't cause us to have any problems while we're trying to play, that they don't cause any problems later on down the road, maybe needing us to send the horn to the repair shop or something like that, costing us extra money. So having good habits for cleaning your instrument and keeping it in good working condition not only prevents problems while you're playing, but also helps extend the life of the instrument. So we'll just talk about a few of these main ideas here. And the first thing I want to talk about is just some of the basic tools or the things that you want to use to do some of this cleaning. Now, first and foremost, of course, we have our regular bottle of valve oil, which we'll use most commonly out of all of this stuff. So we might need to oil the valves every couple of days or something like that. Depends on if they're feeling slow. Maybe it's once a week. Some of the other items that I have here are cleaning tools that I would use maybe once a month or every few weeks, depending on how much you're playing. The more you play, the dirtier the inside of their horn is going to get. So if you're playing a lot every day, you're going to want to clean out your instrument maybe every couple weeks, every few weeks, something like that, just to make sure that you're cleaning out the tubing and things like that, so gunk and grime doesn't build up in there. So some of these other items that I have are a mouthpiece brush, kind of a tapered looking mouthpiece brush for cleaning out the mouthpiece. And then I have what we call a snake, so it's kind of like a long stretch, and sometimes they have a brush on either end. This one just has the brush on one end. And this is for running through some of the longer tubing and kind of swabbing it out, getting some of that gunk and grime out of there. And then sometimes a cleaning kit will come with just a more rigid cleaning brush. And that's for also getting inside of some of the slides, or even this one has a thicker brush for cleaning out the valve casings, just to clear any of the grime out of there. As far as oils and greases and things like that, we already talked about valve oil, but then we'll also have maybe a bottle of slide oil for, say, like our first and third slides. These guys here, just to keep them working and moving nicely. It's going to be a little bit thicker than regular valve oil is, just because we don't need those slides to move quite as fast as our valves. And then I have a couple different kinds of tuning slide grease. So sometimes they might come in a little jar like this, or sometimes in a bottle. But this is even thicker stuff that go on our main tuning slide to keep this moving easily, but it's not so thin that it slides out too easily, so it doesn't fall out while we're playing. So it kind of stays in place wherever we move it to. So I'm going to quick show you how I oil my valves, because that's going to be the most important thing that we do on a regular basis. And yeah, we'll go from there. So what I do typically first is I go from the top of the valve. Some people show you that you can put valve oil in the bottom, but sometimes the valve oil just stays at the bottom and doesn't really work through and really like kind of get the oil on the valves very completely. So I like to go from the top, and I just unscrew the top cap. So it's important to make sure that these are moving and working nicely so that you can open up the valve and just pull the valve out here easily. I don't pull it all the way out. You can do it that way, but I just let it rest on there easily. Just be careful not to tip your horn so it falls out. Then I take a little bit of valve oil, and I just put a few drops. You don't need a ton. Put a couple, maybe a few drops on the valve and slide it back in and close that top cap. And then I just move the valve up and down, just kind of work that oil in there until it starts to feel like the valve is moving better. And I'll repeat the same thing on each of the three valves. So I do that anytime that the valves are starting to feel just a little bit slow. Anytime you feel like there might be a little bit of grind, or like you hear any scraping or things like that in your valves as they move, you might need to clean it out. So that process, you'll want to take the valves out and gently set them aside, take the slides off, things like that, and maybe use some warm water with some light dish soap or something like that, just to get a little bit of soap going. You can kind of rinse the horn out, use some of that soap to to wet your brushes or wet the snake, wet your mouthpiece brush, and you can use those to kind of clean the gunk out of all the different slides and make sure everything gets rinsed out nicely so you don't have any extra soap left in the horn. And then you can re-grease your slides, all that kind of stuff to get everything working nicely. I recommend doing that on like a Saturday when you don't have a whole lot else going on. You don't need to be in a hurry because it can take maybe about an hour or so to do a full clean like that. And I would maybe clean out your horn once a month or so, something like that, just to make sure that we don't have any of that buildup, which can make things feel like the horn is starting to get kind of constrictive and things like that, and just not sound as good. So yeah, there you go. So oiling the valves, using some of these other kind of slides and greases and cleaning tools to make sure that we're keeping the instrument free of grime, free of any dust or other things that can kind of collect in there, to make sure that it keeps working the best way it possibly can.